Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Men are funny creatures. We don't always realize what we have when we have it. Sometimes it takes a little distance, a little silence, and a little mystery for a man to wake up and say, dang, I miss her. And this is the time when he misses you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about how men operate. Because sometimes we like to act like we're complicated, but the truth is we are simple in the most predictable way. Men don't miss you when you're constantly available. They miss you in your absence. And I mean real absence, not the kind where you pretend for a few hours, but still keep checking your phone every 5 minutes. I'm talking about the kind of absence where you start focusing on you so much that he can feel that shift in the air. When a man knows that no matter what time he calls, you'll answer. No matter how last minute he is, you'll show up. No matter how distracted he gets, you'll still be there. That man starts to take it for granted. Not because he's evil, not because he doesn't care, but because comfort is a dangerous thing in relationships. It makes a man forget the effort it took to get you in the first place. He gets so used to the routine that he stops appreciating. But the moment you're not there, when your laughter isn't the soundtrack to his day, when your energy isn't lighting up the room, something starts to happen. At first, he won't admit it. No, at first, he's going to act like he's fine. He'll tell himself, she's probably busy, no big deal. He might even convince himself that he likes the space. But give it a little time. Let the quiet settle in. Let him go a day without hearing from you. Then 2 days, then 3. That's when the replay starts in his head. All those moments he took for granted suddenly feel like gold. The way you looked at him when he was talking about his dreams. The way you sent that random text in the middle of the day just to tell him you believed in him. The way you laughed at his jokes, even the corny ones. He starts to realize that's not something he's getting anywhere else. Men are hunters by nature. And the thing about hunting is you only chase what is already sitting at your feet. If the deer just walks up and says, here I am, the hunter loses interest. That's why absence is so powerful. It wakes up that chasing instinct in a man. It makes him remember that you are not his possession. You are a choice. And if he wants that choice to stay in his life, he's got to act like it. But here's where a lot of women make the mistake. They try to create absence by pretending. They'll post on social media like they're living their best life, but in reality, they're sitting at home thinking about him. Or they'll ignore his calls for a day, but then the next day, they blow up his phone with, I miss you text. That's not absence. That's just a break in the schedule. True absence comes from shifting your energy away from him and back into yourself. When you're genuinely busy, living, genuinely focused on your own goals, genuinely having fun without checking to see if he noticed, that's when he feels it. Because men can sense when a woman's world doesn't revolve around them anymore. And trust me, that feeling hits hard. 1 minute, he thought you'd always be right there. The next minute, he's realizing he's not as central to your life as he thought. That's when the missing begins. That's when the questions start. Where is she? Who's she with? Is she laughing like that with someone else? That's when the pride starts to crumble, and the man who thought he could predict you suddenly wants to figure you out again. And let me be clear, it's not about making him suffer. It's about reminding him of your value. Because when you're constantly available, A man doesn't get the chance to feel your absence. And without absence, there's no longing. And without longing, there's no deep appreciation. Men fall in love in your presence, but they realize your worth in your absence. So when you hear that line, men don't miss you when you're constantly available. They miss you in your absence. Don't just hear it as relationship advice. Hear it as a life principle. It's about teaching people, not just men, that your time, your energy, your love is a privilege, not a guarantee. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for both of you is to step back, live your life, and let him miss you. Men don't miss you when you're constantly available. They miss you in your absence. It's one of the hardest things for some people to understand, because when you care about someone, your natural instinct is to give them more of you, to be there whenever they need you, to keep showing up no matter how they show up for you. But that's not how desire works. That's not how appreciation grows. When a man can reach you anytime he wants, when every call is answered, every message is replied to in seconds, when your time is always open for him, he begins to treat it as if it will always be that way. Not out of cruelty, but out of human nature. Comfort dulls appreciation. Familiarity erases urgency. Absence, however, changes everything. When you start pulling your energy back, not as a trick, not as revenge, but as a natural step toward giving yourself the attention you deserve, he begins to notice the void. At first, he may not acknowledge it. He might convince himself that he enjoys the extra space, that you're probably just busy, that things are fine. But little by little, silence starts echoing louder than your presence ever did. That's when the memories start replaying in his mind. The way you laughed without holding back, the way you supported him when nobody else did, the little things you did that made his world feel lighter. And when those moments surface without you being there to create new ones, he starts to miss them. And here's the part that many people overlook. This missing isn't triggered when you're simply out of sight. It's triggered when your focus shifts. When you are genuinely invested in your own life, pursuing your goals, taking care of yourself, and not waiting for his attention to validate you, he feels it. Men can sense when the energy that used to flow entirely toward them is now flowing towards something else. That shift changes the dynamic instantly. The man who thought you'd always be right there starts wondering where you've gone, not physically, but emotionally. And that wondering is the beginning of missing you. This ties directly into the second truth. The moment he feels your energy shift away, his mind starts chasing you. Men are wired to pursue. It's not just about romance. It's in their nature to go after what they feel they can lose. When everything about you feels secure and predictable, that instinct goes dormant. But when he senses, even without words, that you are no longer revolving around him, something stirs. That internal chase mechanism kicks back in. He starts paying closer attention. He starts noticing little things he once overlooked. He starts making more of an effort, not because you begged for it, but because he now realizes he could lose access to something he didn't fully value before. The shift in energy is powerful because it's not about playing games. It's about reclaiming control of your focus. When your conversations are no longer filled with constant reassurance, when you stop rearranging your plans to fit his schedule, when you begin making choices based on what serves you best instead of what might please him most, he feels that change. He notices that you're no longer chasing his approval, And that's when his mind begins to replay moments, revisit feelings, and reconnect with the value you bring to his life. The chase that begins here isn't always dramatic. It's often subtle at first. More text than before, more interest in your day, more curiosity about what you're doing. But the reason it feels different is because now it's coming from his desire to be closer to you, not just from convenience. That desire doesn't come from seeing you constantly. It comes from imagining life without you. And that imagining only happens when you give both of you space to breathe. When a man feels your energy shift away, it's like a quiet alarm in his mind. He starts wondering what changed. He starts reflecting on his own actions, on the times he might have been distant, on the moments he might have taken you for granted. That's the beauty of space. It allows room for both recognition and correction. And the missing he feels during that time, that's the raw, honest proof that he cares, because it's not forced, it's not manufactured, it's a natural response to realizing that what once felt certain is now uncertain, and what once seemed constant is now in motion. Men don't miss you when you're constantly available. They miss you in your absence. When you're always there, answering every call, replying to every text in minutes, showing up even when you're tired, a man starts thinking that's just the way it will always be. Not because he's intentionally ungrateful, but because that's what human nature does. It gets comfortable. But when you pull your energy back, when you stop giving your time so freely, it's like flipping a switch in his mind. That's when he starts noticing the quiet. That's when the memories start playing. The way you used to make him laugh without trying. The way you believed in him when nobody else did. The way you made the small things feel special. Those moments replay when you're not there to create more of them. The moment he feels your energy shift away, his mind starts chasing you. It's not even about ego's instinct. Men are wired to pursue what they feel they could lose. When you're always present, he thinks he's got you figured out. But when he senses you're no longer revolving your whole world around him, something changes. He starts wondering where you're putting your time, who's making you smile, what's pulling your attention. That wondering is what sparks the chase. It's not the kind of chase where he's running after something brand new. It's the kind where he's trying to reclaim something he realizes he's in danger of losing. That's the difference between a man who's interested and a man who's invested. You don't even have to say a word to create that shift. You don't have to announce that you're taking space. The change is in your focus. You start doing more for yourself. You start spending time with people who lift you up. You start choosing your plans based on what you want, not on what's most convenient for him. And when you do that consistently, not as a one-day stunt, but as a lifestyle, he feels it. That's when he remembers how much he enjoyed chasing you in the first place. That's when he realizes that your attention isn't just given, it's earned. Respecting yourself and creating space makes him value you more. Space is powerful because it forces perspective. When he's in the middle of his routine, he can overlook the small things. He can take the way you listen to him for granted. He can forget how rare your patience is. But when that space is there, when you're not instantly available, he has to actually think about what life looks like without your presence. He starts noticing how quiet it feels without your text lighting up his phone. He starts realizing that the way you showed up for him wasn't something he could get from just anyone. Respect for you grows in the moments he doesn't have you right in front of him. And that's not about playing games. It's about reminding him that you're not an endless resource. You have your own needs, your own priorities, your own life. When you put yourself first, you're showing him that you value yourself. And that's exactly what teaches him to value you. It's not about pulling away to punish him. It's about pulling away to honor yourself. The man who truly cares will fill that space and want to close it, not because you demanded it, but because he chooses to. That's the point where a man's perspective shifts. Before, he might have thought your attention was just part of the deal, something that would always be there no matter how he acted. But when you respect yourself enough to create space, he starts seeing it differently. He starts understanding that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. That understanding is what makes him treat you better, show up with more effort, and appreciate the moments you do give him. The truth is, love without respect doesn't last. And respect is built when both people recognize the value of each other's time, energy, and presence. Creating space isn't about making him afraid. It's about giving him the chance to see you clearly. And once he does, that's when the missing begins, the chasing begins, and the valuing begins. Men don't miss you when you're constantly available. They miss you in your absence. When you're always right there, it's easy for a man to start thinking that's just the way it will always be. He calls, you answer. He needs something, you drop everything. He gets so used to that rhythm that he stops realizing it's a choice you're making, not an obligation you owe him. And then one day you pull your energy back, not as a punishment, but because you've started remembering that you have your own life to live. That's when he notices. That's when the air feels different. That's when the quiet starts to make him think. The moment he feels your energy shift away, his mind starts chasing you. And that's because men are wired to pursue. It's part instinct, part pride, and part fear of loss. When you're always there, he thinks you'll always be there. But the second he senses you're not hanging on his every move, that instinct wakes up. He starts wondering who's taking your attention, who's making you laugh, who's filling your time. That wondering creates curiosity, and curiosity drives the chase. It's not about making him panic. It's about letting him feel what it's like to no longer have constant access to you. Respecting yourself and creating space makes him value you more. Space forces a man to sit with the reality of what you bring to his life. When you're constantly giving, he can start taking without thinking. But when you step back, when you stop being the one to initiate every conversation, when you no longer rearrange your plans to fit his schedule, he feels the absence of your effort. That absence creates appreciation. He begins to see the difference between the way you treated him and the way the rest of the world treats him. That comparison, that's what builds respect. Because respect doesn't come from how much you give. It comes from how clearly you show that your giving is intentional and limited to those who value it. A man misses consistency and care when it's no longer handed to him freely. People talk about missing someone like it's about missing their face or their voice. But the truth is, what a man really misses are the little constants you brought into his life. The good morning text that started his day with a smile. The way you remembered the smallest details he told you. the encouragement you gave when he doubted himself. Those things become so familiar that he stops noticing them until they're gone. The first time his day starts without hearing from you, it might feel strange. The second time, it feels empty. And by the third time, it's not just the routine he misses. It's the connection, the way you made him feel seen. That's when a man starts thinking about more than just your presence. He starts thinking about your role in his life. Consistency is something everybody craves, even if they don't admit it. And when you've been that consistent source of care, your absence hits harder than he expects. That's why creating space is so powerful. It allows him to see the difference between life with you and life without you. And when that difference is clear, he starts valuing you in a way that constant availability never could create. When he's missing you, it's not always about dramatic moments or big gestures. Most of the time, it's about the quiet realizations. He's making coffee and suddenly remembers how you used to do it for him without him asking. He's having a bad day and realizes there's nobody checking in like you used to. He hears a song and without warning, it pulls him back to a moment he shared with you. Those moments stack up until he can't ignore them. And it all starts because you decided that your presence was a privilege, not a guarantee. A man will never truly see the depth of your value when you're giving without limits. But when you step back, when you respect yourself enough to create room for him to notice, and when you stop handing over your consistency without it being earned, that's when the missing becomes real. That's when his mind starts chasing what he once took for granted. And that's when he realizes what you gave him was rare. And if he doesn't honor it, he might just lose it forever. Men don't miss you when you're constantly available. They miss you in your absence. As long as you're always there, picking up every call, answering every text, showing up whenever he asks, it's easy for him to believe that's just who you'll always be. He doesn't stop to think about the choice you're making to give him that time and energy, because comfort has a way of making people blind to effort. But when you pull back, when you stop being everywhere in his world, something shifts. The silence is louder. The days feel longer. And he starts thinking about things he never thought about when you were always in his line of sight. The moment he feels your energy shift away, his mind starts chasing you. Men are wired to pursue what feels uncertain. When your focus is always on him, he doesn't have to think about how to keep it. He just assumes it will be there. But when you stop centering your whole world around him, his instincts wake up. He wonders who has your attention now. He starts asking himself why you aren't calling as much, why you're not quick to answer, why you seem to be moving in your own rhythm without checking to see if it matches his. That wondering creates urgency, and urgency fuels the chase. Respecting yourself and creating space makes him value you more. Space isn't about playing games. It's about making room for him to see what you bring to his life. When you're always available, he might not realize the level of support, care, and consistency you give him. But when you step back, when you start putting yourself first, when you stop bending your plans just to fit into his, that's when he feels the shift. That space becomes the mirror where he finally sees what you've been doing all along. And that's where respect grows. because he realizes you're not doing it out of obligation, you're doing it out of choice. A man misses consistency and care when it's no longer handed to him freely. People often think missing someone is about missing their face or their voice, but most of the time, it's about missing the little constants that made life better. The good morning text he could always count on. The way you remembered the tiniest details about his day. The comfort of knowing there was someone who cared about what happened to him. Those are the things that hit the hardest when they stop showing up. At first, he might not notice, but over time, the absence of those simple, steady gestures starts to feel like a hole in his life, and no matter where he looks, it's not easy to fill. Silence speaks louder than constant calls and messages. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to make an announcement that you're taking a step back. Silence has a way of communicating things words can't. It makes a man stop and think. It forces him to notice what's missing, and it shifts the balance without you having to argue, beg, or plead. The quiet gets into his head. He starts to remember the sound of your voice, the way you'd say his name, the laughter you brought into conversations. And because you're not flooding his phone or chasing him for attention, those memories gain weight. They stand out more because they're not being replaced by constant interaction. When you give space, you give him the opportunity to realize he doesn't just enjoy your presence, he needs it. You stop being part of the background noise and start becoming the thing he notices isn't there. And that's when a man begins to connect the dots between your absence and the way his life feels less full without you. It's not about making him fear losing you. It's about letting him discover that life without you doesn't feel the same. By creating that space, holding on to your self-respect and letting your silence speak for itself, you're not just making him miss you. You're showing him the true value of your presence. And once a man sees that for what it really is, he understands